Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. So today I'm going to be doing my March and April reading wrap-up video, and I decided to do these like bi-monthly so that it doesn't so that at the end of each month I'm not like left with the pressure of having to read more and more and more, because honestly I can't be reading 13 books in a month. That's just not where I'm at right now. I'd love to be able to do that, but I can't. I have other responsibilities that require my time. I have other books to read that are not as fun but necessary. So I decided I was just gonna do like a bi-monthly type of thing so that I can still be able to give my thoughts on the books that I've been reading, but without all that pressure. So I think it's only about 8 books that I read between March and April, and honestly, I was having a really hard time finding books that I actually liked. So there's a bunch of books that I started with and then just left midway. So there's like a bunch of books that I'm currently still reading. A few that I did DNF because I was like, there's no way I'm going back into this book, even if I tried. But there's also a bunch of books that I just felt like it wasn't the right time for me to be reading them at this present time and moment. So I did like soft DNF them, or I'm currently still reading them. But yes, so let's get into this video. The first book that I read was Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. This book, okay, so my thing about this book was the fact that I read this book, right? And there's just so many, like, I feel like people have like very negative feedback to this book, because I will be honest, this book did not like the ending, the plot twist. It didn't make sense, okay? It didn't make sense. It was just, it just didn't make sense, okay? But I liked this book. I liked like the atmosphere of this book. I liked how eerie it was. I also enjoyed the fact that I didn't know what was going on. I did not understand what was going on. I feel like I did kind of like predict one of the plot twists, but even that, it wasn't like necessarily a big thing. But I didn't know what was going on in this book, and it kept me guessing the entire time, which I absolutely had a fun time with. I think that's why I gave this book 4 stars, because I honestly had the most amazing time reading this book, because I couldn't tell you what was going on. Like, I could not guess, even if I tried. That's what made me give this book 4 stars. But honestly, was it practical? No, not very much. Because, okay, let's get into spoiler territory, okay? Because I can understand that she she was alive and she was there the entire time, right? Cool beans. But now, where it kind of just got a little weird for me was how these like, also another thing I didn't pick up on was the fact that it was just a bunch of women in the small town. I didn't pick up on that. Which I feel like I should have, because when I looked back at it, I was like, okay. But because I feel like I do remember, I was like, okay, but we are the men. But it didn't like click to me that they just weren't there at all, you know? So that was another thing. But also, like, my thing was, like, how do you go and say you want a man to come and write a book in a town where you guys really don't want men at all? But you it's a town where you guys are saying you want to be independent because men are this, men are that. You're bringing all these women out of areas where men were abusing them and men were doing this and men were doing that. And you don't want to be dependent on men, so you're going to build a community of just women. But then you bring a man to come and write a bestseller book. Can't a woman do that? Like, women are really good writers, like really good thriller writers too. So for you to sit there and be like, we don't want men in our community, but we kind of want a man to come and write a book for us so we can sustain ourselves, kind of just basically just, it goes back to the point that in all fairness, you can't then live without men. That was the one thing that bugged me, but I just liked this book. It was vibes, okay? I gave this book 4 stars because of the vibes. Honestly, nothing much, okay? It was the vibes and the airy feeling that I got, but realistically, nothing about this book made sense. Nothing about this book made sense. Like, nothing about this book made sense. But yeah. The next book is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. I love this book. I love this book so, so much. I liked, who was it again? Bo. I liked Bo. Like, I liked Bo. And I liked Win. Yeah. I actually remember their names. I liked both of them. Like, I really, honestly, truly like both of them so much. There's nothing really much that I can say about this book. I had a fun time reading it, and I feel like it was a pregnancy trope, and I genuinely don't like those, but it was a pregnancy trope that was done right. And that's it, honestly. And I gave this book 5 stars because I absolutely loved it. And then the next book is Tell Me What You Did by Carter Wilson. This was in one of my 2025 predictions, whatever video, and I'll put it up here. And I predicted this book was going to be a 5 stars. It wasn't. Let's start there. I read it in March, and then I stopped reading it. And then I was like, okay, let me maybe give it a break. Let me read something else because I'm just not feeling it. I'm kind of bored. And then I tried reading it again in April until I decided I don't really care what's going on. I don't really care for what's going on with her. I don't really care for what's going on in the book itself. I didn't care, like, at all. So I decided to DNF it because I did not care. So this book is essentially about a woman, and she has this podcast where she gets people to confess their deepest, darkest secrets. And so she goes, and then one day a man comes and he's like, I want to confess something, and I killed your mother. And she's like, okay, that's not possible. Okay, basically because I know who killed my mother, and I killed the person who killed my mother. So we take it from there. And I was honestly really just bored with this book. Honestly, I didn't care for what was going on. I didn't care I didn't care for anything, okay? I went and I looked up the ending, and I'm glad I DNF'd it because the ending wasn't anything to write home about. Like, I feel like that book should have just been left in the drafts. Like, it didn't need to be that long, first of all, because it was just a bunch of nothing. And no, I've DNF'd it at 40%. So I don't know if for some people that would be considered giving it a fair shot, but I couldn't anymore. I honestly couldn't anymore. And like I said, I looked up the ending, and I'm kind of glad that I DNF'd that book because no. Okay, the next one is Little Secrets by Jennifer Hillier. I feel like with some of these books, maybe I've spoken about them in reading blogs because I'm getting like, it's not even like a deja vu. I'm just getting the feeling that I've spoken about these before. So now I'm like, did I even read these in like March and April? Like, or did I do a wrap up on these before? I don't know. It's just a weird feeling that I'm getting that I feel like it's repetition and I'm repeating something that I've already spoken about. But anyway, that is neither here nor there. Little Secrets by Jennifer Hillier. And I need a moment for this book because I don't like reading books about people that are cheating on one another. That's the quickest way to get me to stop reading a book. That is the quickest way to get me to stop reading a book. And a book about a man that's going to talk about how he just likes sleeping around. That's the next quickest way to get me to stop reading a book. But cheating spouses, I just can't. I just don't want to. I don't care for it. And then with this one, you get the POV of the side chick as well. I just found her to be insufferable, quite frankly. And she constantly went on and on and on about people's money and about walking around in a Louis Vuitton bag, or maybe not bag, but you get what I'm saying. Like, she was constantly talking about how people are so rich and they have this and they have that and their handbags are Louis Vuitton and this and that is label, this and that is it's this certain brand. Quite frankly, I didn't care for all of that. Like, she was bitter and she was broke, and I didn't care to have to listen to her go on and on and on describing how rich people are. Like, you can tell me somebody's rich and it's fine. I can get it, you know? We can keep it at that. But then she'd be like, yeah, he didn't want me to put my feet on his Bentley or whatever. It wasn't really a Bentley. I don't know what it was. But she mentioned something about him not wanting her to put her feet somewhere on an expensive car. And I was like, ugh, I didn't really care for that. And then I found the woman that was getting cheated on, I also found her to be insufferable. We didn't get the husband's POV from where I stopped at. But this was about a woman who, her child, I think it gets stolen. A missing child. Her child gets stolen. And I thought the book would be about that, but I did also look up the ending, okay, because I wanted to kind of know. But then there's her and her husband, and then she has like a best friend, and I kind of saw what was going on. I kind of figured out what was going on, and then I read up on the ending, and I was like, oh, yeah, no, I clocked that. I clocked everything that was going on, and boring. I was also really bored with the book. I don't know why so many people rave about it. I really don't know, because I could no, I was just bored, and I could sense what was happening, and I was right about what's happening. And cheating spouses just isn't for me. The whole book was just not a vibe. Yeah, no, I didn't like that book at all, honestly. I didn't like that book at all. And I DNF'd this one 40% as well. I DNF'd it at 40% as well. I couldn't stand her anymore. It was a POV of the side chick, and I couldn't any longer. Like all the characters were insufferable. All of them. I mean, like, when you read a book and the characters are unlikable, that is one thing. But insufferable, we're not doing that. And then the next book that I read was Confessions by, I need to like, because I have like my little notes here. Confessions by Kenei Malanto, and it was translated by Stephen Snyder. And I think it's a Japanese book. Like it was originally written in Japanese. I think she's Japanese. I might be mistaken, but I do think she's Japanese. And it was translated. I think maybe that's why the formatting of the book and the way the book was like written was kind of odd for me. Like it was something different for me. It was new to me. And I think maybe that's why I pushed it down like a 0.5. But aside from that, I loved this book. I enjoyed this book a lot. And this is essentially a book about a woman who it starts off with her talking to her students in a class, right? And she's telling them, basically just confessing a couple of things, and then she's also talking about her daughter who passed away on the school premises, and it just goes from there. And then after that, it's craziness. A bunch of craziness, honestly. I feel like that's literally it. It's just a bunch of craziness from there onwards, by a bunch of, how old are those kids? 13-year-olds? They're pretty young. It's just a bunch of craziness by a bunch of things that a bunch of 13-year-old kids do, and it's crazy. But I did enjoy reading this book a lot. I loved like the different elements of like twists and the things that were happening. I was just like gagged a few times, and I was just enjoying my reading with this book. And I gave this book 3.5, and like I said, I could have like moved it up to a 4. It was just something about the writing was a bit odd for me, a bit weird, a bit new. I don't really think that's much of the book's fault, but I mean, it's my ranking, so I can do what I want, right? But yeah, so I gave this one a 3.5. And now we move into the books that I read in April. Yeah, it is this month, because I'm actually recording this on the 30th of April, and hopefully I'm posting it tomorrow on the 1st. In fact, I need to post it tomorrow on the 1st. But anyway, actually the 2nd. Yeah, I think that's my posting day. But anyway, so the first book that I read in April was The Fall by Abby Jimenez. I wanted to start like a new to Abby Jimenez thing where I read like 3 of her books, but at this rate, I don't know if I'm going to be reading another of her book anytime soon, but I do want to read just for the summer. But anyway, this one is The Fall Risk by Abby Jimenez, and I saw so many comments about, it's a short story, first of all. I saw so many comments about people saying, oh, this book is amazing. The sun literally just went down. I feel like it's gonna affect the lighting. The lighting probably just shifted a little bit. But yeah. I saw a lot of people saying like, this book was amazing. Abby Jimenez does it again. Even in a short story, she can captivate me. She can that me. And I don't know about that, Cher. I don't know about that, okay? I'm too certain about that. Because I thought this book was okay. I thought it was okay, but it's a short story. People raved about it so much, and how, like I said, how it captivated them being a short story. I wasn't very captivated. It felt short, but I also it felt short. It was also kind of like, I don't think I can ever understand how people fall in love in a day. I think it was a day, 2 days, 3 days, especially if the other girl's going through something as hectic as what she was going through. Like right in the middle of her going through this thing, she goes and she falls in love with the man in 2 days. It wasn't gelling for me. And but I also feel like it was a short story because there really wasn't much to their romance. I feel like that. I feel like had they made it a longer book, it would have been a horrible book. So I guess I understand why it was a short story, but it wasn't for me. I could have done without it, honestly, truly. Could have done without it. But I did give it a 3 stars. Actually, I think I gave it a 3.5 initially. But then when I think about it, no, actually it is a 3 stars. I did give it a 3 stars, not a 3.5. 3 stars. And I don't know if you can hear my niece in the background. She's like, they're off school for the week. And she's practicing like her Afrikaans speech. She's in like the public speaking. I don't know what they call it, but that thing. I was never in that show. I was too shy for that. So yeah, she's in that. But yeah, I don't know if you can hear her. She's literally shouting, okay? Busy doing her Afrikaans speech. And funny, it's funny. But yeah, so hopefully you can't hear it too much, and because I really would like to continue, I need to get this ball rolling and I need to post this. But anyway, so the next book is Ready or Not by Cara Bastone, and we love her. We love her. I loved this book. I really enjoyed reading this book. I had like a really fun time reading this book. And it's another pregnancy trope, okay? I read pregnancy tropes back to back. And even though it's not my favorite trope, I really absolutely enjoyed it. I did speak about it in my second TikTok channel. I'll just put my handle up here. I did speak about it, and you can watch the video if you like want to know like my full thoughts. But this book had a pregnancy trope, it had a love triangle, and I mean, I'm gonna give you my full thoughts here because yeah, a love triangle, kind of, sort of, somewhat. It had a friends to lovers, and it had a best friend's brother, and none of those tropes are my favorite, none of them, okay? And I saw somebody, Gabby Reads, reading, talking about this book, and she said she absolutely loved it even though all 4 of these tropes weren't her favorite. And I was like, me too, girl. Okay, so I will be reading it. So that's basically what happened. So I decided to read it, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I thought the main male character was amazing. Like, he was amazing. Like, a little unreal, which we love. Nobody wants a realistic man, okay? But I absolutely loved him. I thought he was amazing, and I had the most amazing time reading this book. It was about a woman who meets a... What does she meet? She meets a man. No, she meets a man. Yes, she meets a man, and they accidentally get pregnant on like a one night stand thing. And then she goes and she tells him that she is pregnant, and he's like, I kind of have a girlfriend. We weren't dating at the time, but now we're back together. So I think that's where, no, that's not where the love triangle comes in. And then she goes and she tells her best friend. Her best friend isn't really happy for her because her best friend's been trying to get pregnant as well. It just hasn't been happening for her. So the best friend's brother, who recently moved back into town, is like, let me help you out, girl, okay? Because my sister's not being nice. Let me help you out and be supportive and all those fun things. And that's where the love triangle comes into play. But they were also friends. The 3 of them are like the 3 musketeers. Maybe not the 3 musketeers, but the 3 of them used to hang out together. But the brother was like a bit older, but they used to hang out together. And so they're also kind of like friends, even though it is her best friend's brother, but she's also just friends with him. And so the love triangle is between her and the father of her baby, and also the guy who is her friend, but also her best friend's brother. So that's where the love triangle comes in. But like I said, it's kind of sort of a love triangle, but not really. I feel like if you've read the book, you'd understand what I mean. Read this book, please. I absolutely loved it. I loved Out on a Limb, but I feel like I liked this one just a smidge bit better. Just a little bit better. And did I like it better? Girl, you know what? Let's not put 2 great people side by side, okay? They're both up there. I liked both of them the same, okay? Because I also gave this one 5 stars. Okay, and then the next book is The Trap by Catherine Ryan Howard. And I started reading this one in March. I stopped a little bit and then I went back to it in April. What I liked about this book was that you kind of get the POV of the serial killer. Love it. So women start going missing, and a woman then decides, let me start like roaming the streets and try to find out and try to have the man that took my sister take me as well. But this book, like, I feel like, you know, when you're reading a book and you have like different, like, the names of the person you're reading from and then you're reading from them, with this book you didn't get none of that. You just had to figure out for yourself who was speaking. You had to figure out for yourself whose POV you were getting at that time. And I feel like that's what added on to the book being so enjoyable for me, because I will, if I'm being completely honest, there were a few times that I got the POV wrong. Maybe just like one or two times that I got it wrong. And I feel like now when I go back and I read the book, I'm gonna be like, okay, I thought this was who was speaking, but in actual fact it wasn't them, it was somebody else. And this book also had a trope that I really like in books, and I can't really talk about like what the trope is because it will like be ruining the book, but it has a trope that I really, really like in books, and I'd like to read more books with that trope. I just wish people could recommend it to me. Actually, no, I don't want people to recommend it for me, because if I know that that's the trope, then I won't enjoy the book as much, okay? But it's missing person with a little bit of a twist. Missing people with a little bit of a twist, and I love that. And I wish I could read more books like that, but without knowing that I'm reading books like that, because not knowing added to the thrill of it. But I will say it did take me a while to finish. But I really enjoyed it. So I gave it a 4.5 because it took me a while to finish, but it was also it was a good book. It is just nothing short of a stroke of genius, okay? The way this book was written. But yeah, 4.5. And the last book that I read, it's one that I recently finished reading a day or two ago, and that is You Killed Me First by John Mars. This book, in the first page, I could tell you that these women are going to be unhinged. Because I could already tell, reading from the first person, Margot, I could tell that she was going to be unhinged. I could tell that she was going to be unlikable, okay? And I mean, Margot might have been the unlikable one, but yeah, these women are unhinged. The things they do to one another, girl, they're not even friends. Like, they shouldn't even call themselves friends, because they're not friends, okay? They're secret enemies. They're secret enemies, okay? Like, these women are a different breed. So what is this book even about? Honestly, I don't know. Okay, but let me just describe it this way. The book starts off with a woman being burnt alive in a bonfire, and then from there we go to like 11 months before the bonfire, when a new woman comes into live into the neighborhood, and then these two women have already lived there, but then there's a third woman who comes and lives into their neighborhood. So the three of them kind of just like become like little frenzies, you know? They become friends or so. They become friends and they start hanging out together, and then yeah, I really enjoyed reading this book. I had an amazing time reading this book. I loved it. I really, really did love it. So I gave this book a 4.5, and this is by far, so far, I think it's my highest rated John Mars book. Is it? Yes, I think it is. But yeah, I'm trying to get through his backlog as well, but I've only like read 3 of his books. He's got a lot of books. I have a long way to go before I can finish his books. But yeah, this is my 3rd book by John Mars that I've read, and I gave it a 4.5, and I loved it. Okay guys, so that concludes the 9 books that I read in the month of March as well as in the month of April, and I'm currently in the middle of reading 5-ish books. One of them is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I went back into that one, read it a little bit, put it on pause again, and then I started reading Black Woods Blue Sky. I started reading that today. It shouldn't even be here, but yeah, I started reading that one today. And then I started reading I Know Who You Are by Alice Feeney as well, I think 2 days ago. And what other books do I have? Oh, and I'm also reading the 3rd book in the Kristen Forrest trilogy. I'll put it up here. And what's another book that I'm also still currently reading? I'll put it up here. I forgot what that book is, but those are the 5 books that I'm still currently reading. Like, I'm in the middle of reading those books. And I'm a mood reader, so if I wake up today and I'm like, I try reading a book and I'm like, maybe I'm not in the mood for this one today, I'll go and read something else. Because I'd hate to force myself to read a book and then not enjoy it. So I am a mood reader, and I do read according to my mood, and I do read according to how I'm feeling in that hour of the day. I could read 2 to 3 books in one day, depending on what I'm feeling like at that point. But yes, so I hope you guys liked watching this video. I hope you guys liked hearing my thoughts on these books. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I'm a little bit off kilter today. There's just something odd about this reading wrap up, and I can't quite put my finger on it. But because I need to get through with it, we're going to keep it moving. But there is just something very odd about the way I'm doing my reading wrap up this month. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I hope you guys will like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, guys, bye.